Black Vaughan and the Hound of Hergest. The Briley Road runs out of the small market town of Kington, roughly following the border between Herefordshire and Radnorshire. Just over a mile from the town is Hergest Court. You can't miss it. It stands on its own on top of a tump overlooking the road. In fact, it looms at you in a menacing way. Once it is dark, everyone on the road will hurry past, trying not to look up and catch sight of the windows or let anything behind the windows catch sight of them. This house is the source of two of the most evil spirits that ever haunted the border country. Sir Thomas Vaughan was born in 1400. When he grew up and became Lord of the Manor, he soon became known as Black Vaughan. Was this because of his thick black hair, or was there a more sinister reason? In life he was a tyrant. With his large black hound he travelled around his domain and woe betide anyone who got in the way of what he wanted. He married a woman from Radnorshire who had a reputation as bad as his own. She was known as Ellen the Terrible. What had she done to deserve this name? But that is another story. Sir Thomas originally fought on the Lancastrian side in the Wars of the Roses. He then changed to the other side, the Yorkists. After a battle in 1469, he was captured by the Lancastrians and beheaded, accused of treason. As his head fell to the ground, his black hound pounced from the shadows and picked up his head in its large slavering jaws and ran off with it. Sir Thomas's body, minus his head, was taken back to his hometown and laid in a tomb in the parish church of St Mary, Kington. But he was not at rest. Now Black Vaughan had been a tyrant during his lifetime, but in death he became 100 times worse. His unquiet spirit caused havoc in the town and surrounding farmland. He would appear on the Briley Road, which ran from the church towards his ancestral home, Hergest Court, spooking horses and terrifying those travelling on foot. He was a shapeshifter, appearing as a huge black dog, an angry bull, or a swarm of flies. As a dog, he chased the sheep on Hergest Ridge until they were exhausted and fell to their death over the scarp side of the ridge. As a bull, he rampaged through the market town, upsetting the market stalls and trampling people underfoot. It was as a swarm of flies that he was at his worst, tormenting horses so that they threw their riders and settling on people who were then driven into a fatal dance macabre to try and escape them. Very soon the people from the surrounding area avoided Kington and the town became poor without the market trade. When Black Vaughan's bull spirit invaded the church during a service, scattering the worshippers in terror, it was decided that something must be done. The vicar of Kington called on priests from the surrounding parishes to assist in the exorcism of this spirit. They would do this by reading the spirit down. 12 priests in all from North Herefordshire, from across the border in Radnorshire, and from the 5 churches of Llanfihangel. Each had a Bible, a prayer book and a large candle. There was also a young mother with her newborn baby summoned to be present as a sign of innocence. As dusk fell, the priests formed a circle inside the church. The mother sat behind them, cradling her child. The townspeople gathered around the church full of fear, but also full of curiosity. The priests began reading in unison verses from the Bible and a repetition of the prayer St. Patrick's breastplate, which offers protection in the presence of evil. Again and again they chanted, Christ with me, Christ before me, Christ behind me, Christ in me, Christ beneath me, Christ above me, Christ on my right, Christ on my left. For indeed evil was present. Black Vaughan's spirit raged around the church. He cursed, he laughed like a demon, roared like a bull, and howled like a hound. For hours the priests recited and the spirit raged, mocking them and terrifying the townspeople. The poor mother could not move. She was petrified, and even the baby was still and silent. One by one the candles went out, and one by one each priest fell to the floor, exhausted. Only one priest was left. He was the oldest and frailest, and some said that he was a man that was overfond of another type of spirit. "Why are you so evil, Black Vaughan?" shouted the priest. "If you think I was evil in life, now in death I am the devil," replied the spirit. The old priest battled for hours. His voice became hoarse but remained strong. Gradually the spirit of Black Vaughan began to weaken. Its voice became shrill and its presence waned. Then the baby cried out and the spirit withered until it was so small that it fitted in the priest's hand. "Quick, bring a strong box," demanded the priest. A man rushed through the church with a metal snuff box, and the spirit was captured and locked inside the box. The box was bound with twine and sealed in an iron casket. The exhausted priest gave his instructions, his voice by now just a whisper. "Throw this casket into a pool of deep water. Then throw in a large stone in exactly the same place. The spirit will be imprisoned there for 1,000 years. Several men accompanied the man with the casket, and they rowed out along the Briley Road to the pond in front of Hergest Court. One man threw the casket into the middle of the pond and then threw in a large stone which landed and sunk in exactly the same place. Slowly, Kington returned to normal. People returned to the town from the countryside. The market resumed, and the townsfolk were free to go about their business. But this is not the end of the story. Centuries later, in the 1960s, the pond had to be drained, and there in the centre was a large stone. The workers were about to move the stone, but an old man who was watching the work shouted, "Leave it be! There be evil under this stone. Leave it be!" And it was left, and the pond refilled with water. But what of the Black Hound? There is one bedroom in Hergest Court that is never used. This is where the spirit of the hound resides, and the clanking of its chain can often be heard at night. But it also roams around the countryside surrounding Hergest, and there have been several sightings of this horrific hound. The hound was reportedly seen by Arthur Conan Doyle, who used it as an inspiration for the Hound of the Baskervilles.